It can be challenging when confronted with a Lean Six Sigma project. What is the first step that should be taken? What steps should follow? Which tools would be the most appropriate at each phase? Well, these are not easy questions to answer, and every situation is different. This video will attempt to help you create a roadmap that almost any project can follow. It is a video informed by countless projects submitted to SSGI over many years. In almost every situation, following the DMAIC framework is advised. It proceeds through 5 phases: define, measure, improve, analyze, and control. First, we turn to the define phase. Problem statement. The Travis Company leases motor vehicles in 145 countries and has over 22,000 employees in 8,000 locations. It is not a low-cost provider. Rather, it attracts customers willing to pay more for exceptional service. But exceptional service is not always easy to deliver. Consider their European call centers. They receive an average of 10,000 calls a month from customers who have issues with their cars, the level of service received, or questions about their bills. Lately, customer satisfaction has become a problem. The voice of the customer, VOC, is apparently not being addressed. The problem statement is this: how can customer satisfaction be improved? Project Charter. A Lean Six Sigma project has been improved to address this challenge, and a project charter has been written. It focuses on the project's goals, scope, timeline, and team composition. First, the goal is a 20% improvement in customer satisfaction. Second is scope. It expresses what needs to be done and what does not. For example, customer satisfaction will focus only on call center issues, not the price or quality of the leased vehicles. Third is the project timeline. It will be 3 months. Finally, an interdisciplinary team of 3 staff will be assigned to the project. Measure phase. SIPOC diagram. The second stage starts with a SIPOC diagram. It identifies suppliers' inputs, process steps, outputs, and customers, and it ensures that no variables have been ignored in the study. Cost of poor quality. The cost of poor quality, COPQ, is instrumental in defining the impact or consequences of any Lean Six Sigma problem. In this example, COPQ can be measured by the costs incurred by the European call center when it fails to meet customer expectations. When these costs are reduced or eliminated, they represent benefits accrued to the project. Benefits and costs. Projects need to be justified by delivering benefits in excess of their costs. Here we could estimate the benefits when poor quality is reduced. If Travis loses 200 customers every month due to poor customer service, and this leads to a loss of $1,000 in profit per lessee per year, cost of poor quality equals 200 times 12 times 1,000, or $2,400,000 in lost profit per year. We might assume that at least half of this amount could be saved by addressing customer satisfaction, or $1,200,000 per year. Therefore, this would be considered a benefit generated by the project. 3 staff members will be assigned to the project for 3 months at a cost of $100,000. In addition, IT changes are estimated to cost $200,000, bringing the total cost to $300,000. When the benefit of $1,200,000 is compared to the cost of $300,000, the expected benefits far exceed the cost. This can be summarized as a benefit-cost ratio. Here it is 1,200,000 divided by 300,000 or 4. In other words, the benefits will be 4 times greater than the cost of the project. Data collection. Data collection is a central part of the measurement phase. It begins by measuring customer satisfaction. Here are customer satisfaction scores for Travis's European operations collected over the previous 10 months, where 100 represents a perfect score. The average over this 10-month period is 72.3. Shortly, you will discover that other data needs to be collected as we move through the project cycle. Process mapping. In addition to process measurements, it is also important to understand the flow of steps between receiving and resolving a call. To accomplish this, a value stream map, VSM, is drawn. Here is a simple one created for the European call center. However, many calls are not resolved on the first attempt. When this happens, it represents a source of inefficiency as well as a source of dissatisfaction for the customer. Here is a process flowchart that captures this more complex sequence of steps. Analyze phase. Root cause analysis. In root cause analysis, we attempt to determine the real cause of a problem. For example, we would like to uncover why almost 30% of the callers are dissatisfied with the service. But in doing this, we try to move past a simple explanation that might focus only on symptoms. As you might imagine, solving a symptom is unlikely to have a meaningful or long-lasting result. So, we search for the root cause. Sometimes, however, there may be several causes. Nonetheless, each one needs to be uncovered. 7 wastes. Where in the process can we look to find the cause or, in some circumstances, the causes of the problem? Here is where the concept of 7 wastes can help. The potential areas of waste include transportation, inventory, motion, waiting, overprocessing, overproduction, and defects. The most relevant in this situation includes overprocessing and defects. Overprocessing occurs when an agent cannot complete a call in one session and must transfer it to another agent. That agent then listens to the problem once again and collects relevant information from the customer. The second category is defects. They occur when invoice errors lead to additional contact with the customer and subsequent rework. Multivariate chart. One tool that is useful in uncovering information is the multivariate chart. Process output can be measured in 2 ways. The first is the average or mean, and the second is the variation of data around this mean. Both are displayed in a multivariate chart. Here is how it can help in this example. The European group operates 4 call centers in London, Paris, Madrid, and Milan. Since call center performance is likely to differ across locations, comparing their average performance and the extent of variation across locations can prove to be helpful. Are they the same or do they differ? And if they differ, what can we learn from each? Here is the data for each location. The second column includes the lowest customer satisfaction score measured over a period of 6 months. The third column includes the highest value, and the fourth is the average customer satisfaction score recorded over this same period. Here is a multivariate chart illustrating the low, high, and average levels of performance for each of the 4 call centers. The chart shows that London has the widest range, while the range associated with Milan is quite narrow. The highest average is Milan. What is also apparent is that Milan not only has the smallest range, but also the highest average. Fishbone diagrams. Fishbone diagrams are another useful tool for gaining insight into a problem and decomposing it to better find its root cause or causes. In this situation, customer satisfaction is the presenting problem, and as such, it is the head of the fish. From this diagram, we can see all the issues that may be contributing to disappointing customer satisfaction scores. Five whys. Repeatedly asking why is another useful strategy for uncovering the layers that can lead to a better understanding of the problem. In Lean Six Sigma, we ask 5 why questions, each probing deeper to find the real or root cause of the problem. Here are 5 questions that can be asked in the Travis Project. Why do you believe satisfaction has fallen? Why do you think no one has taken responsibility to address this issue? Why are customer service reps not adequately trained? Why can't we train a service rep to answer all questions? Why can't we use AI to help us ensure that the call is completed in one session? Data analysis. Data is important, but raw data is not enough. It needs to be analyzed in a systematic way, which often requires the use of statistics. So we might, for example, compute the average satisfaction reported previously. That average is 72.3, where 100 is a perfect score. Data is also critical for comparing old and new ways. It avoids ambiguous comparisons, such as, the improvement does seem to be working, or the fulfillment process is a bit faster. Indeed, when data is used, we can be more explicit. Satisfaction has increased from 72 to 81. Analyzing other data. However, the analysis phase is not limited to using statistics. It also involves analyzing value stream maps, answers to the 5 whys, or data displayed in the Fishbone diagram. All of these help when analyzing a problem and learning as much as possible about it. Next is the improve phase. Eliminate non-value added steps. Armed with the insight gained during the analysis phase, the next step is improvement. Non-value added steps are eliminated to the extent possible. Delays, errors, and wastes are addressed. For example, every effort would be made to minimize the delays in answering a customer's call. Even value-added steps would be explored to determine if they could be made more efficient. If we take a closer look at the process map for the European centers, one obvious improvement would be eliminating the need to transfer a call to a second agent. Another improvement could be suggested by following up with the multivariate chart, exploring how Milan performed so well, and then using this insight to suggest changes at the other 3 call centers. Then, when reviewing the Fishbone diagram, it might be appropriate to consider more training. When agents are better trained, they may not need to transfer calls to other agents. One way to address many of these alternatives is to schedule a brainstorming session attended by relevant stakeholders, during which time all of these possibilities for improvement are discussed. Their input can be instrumental in motivating change and limiting resistance that often interferes with what has to be done. FMEA and Poka-yoke. During the brainstorming session, it might be useful to rely on FMEA and Poka-yoke. Failure mode and effects analysis, FMEA, involves staff anticipating problems before any changes are implemented and then taking steps to avoid these problems. In Poka-yoke, staff considers ways to prevent future errors. Comparing old and new. Once the improvements have been made, it is natural to ask if there is concrete evidence suggesting that process performance has improved. In our example, it could be pointed out that after changes were made, customer satisfaction scores went from an average of 72.3 to 81.4. This is an improvement. The goal of 20% has been reached. Reaching Six Sigma. But have we reached a Six Sigma performance level? A Six Sigma level delivers fewer than 3.4 defects per million opportunities, which means that the European Center would deliver fewer than 3.4 dissatisfied customers per million customers. As you can imagine, achieving such results would be a significant challenge. Of course, call center staff could be trained with this standard in mind, but reaching that standard could prove very costly. Instead, a standard less than 6 Sigma would likely be more feasible. So a customer satisfaction score of 81.4 might be quite reasonable. Control phase. Outputs change over time, so establishing a monitoring and control system to ensure performance does not deteriorate is a critical step in Lean Six Sigma. Indeed, any project that fails to create a monitoring and control system is one that is not complete. Control charts are at the center of the monitoring and control function. While the statistics behind these charts can be quite complex, the basic concept is simple. When constructing a chart for customer satisfaction, a sample of 20 customers would be taken every month, and the average would be plotted on a control chart. As long as the sample mean remains within specific boundaries, the process would be considered to be in control. To construct this control chart, we would use the long-term average output as the target, or in this situation, we could use the average over the last 6 months once the changes have been implemented. The upper boundary is called the upper control limit, and the lower boundary is the lower control limit. Here is the control chart for this project. Notice that the sample means in this sample are within the upper and lower control limits, so customer satisfaction scores can be considered under control. That's it. This is a very brief introduction to the way we would organize and manage a Lean Six Sigma project. While your project may involve other tools and is likely to go into greater statistical depth, the basic format and direction described here can guide almost any Lean Six Sigma project. To recap, the basic issues of a Lean Six Sigma study include: follow a framework, clearly define the problem, measure problem parameters by collecting data, analyze the data with such tools as multivariate charts and value stream maps, improve the problem, and finally control the process to ensure that it continues to meet goals. For a full range of courses, from yellow to master black belt, as well as courses that focus on operational excellence, Scrum, management, Agile, and leadership, visit us at SixSigmaGlobalInstitute.com. Thanks for watching.